One. Good morning, and thank you for joining us in this sixth annual Purple Day press conference event. Today, we're here to kick off National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're going to have a series of presenters, speakers, talk about what we can do as a community to prevent domestic violence and to assist victims. But to start off, we would like to take a moment of silence to honor the 185 persons that were killed due to domestic violence in the state of Texas. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start our press conference. And on behalf of Hidalgo County Criminal District Attorney, Mr. Ricardo Rodriguez Jr., we thank everybody that is joining us today live. This year, we couldn't do our annual press conference in person like we normally do, but we hope that everyone that continuously collaborates and joins our prevention efforts are with us during this Facebook Live so that we can share the information that we're going to present to you today. So under the leadership of Mr. Ricardo Rodriguez, our district attorney, we established the victims unit in the year 2015. And since then, we have been able to receive over $6 million in funding, in grant funding, to be able to provide services to victims of crime in Hidalgo County. With the funding, the generous funding of the Office of the Governor, the Office of the Attorney General, and the County of Hidalgo, we have been able to develop several programs, in particular to assist victims of domestic violence and victims of all types of crime in Hidalgo County. This funding has allowed the office to employ 23 people that are solely dedicated to provide victim assistance. This includes a director, 2 specialty prosecutors, 3 program coordinators, 15 victim advocates, 1 specialty investigator, and 1 legal assistant. These 23 people are solely dedicated to provide victim assistance on a daily basis, and they have been specially trained to be able to provide the assistance to all victims of crime in our county. The victim unit has provided victim services to 28,970 victims of crime since our creation of the victims unit in 2015. It is very important for the public to understand that even though we are not a crisis center, we still talk to every victim that calls our office, and we work in collaboration with all the community-based programs to provide information and referral. So we want victims to know that they don't need to have a criminal case filed in our office for an advocate to speak to them and provide them the resources that they need or the information that they need to be able to receive assistance in our community. There's a number of programs that work in the community that they don't need to have a criminal case filed in our office to be able to get assistance. But out of the 28,170 victims that our office has served, we have been able to provide 88,000 different victim services to those victims of crime. And those services might range from court accompaniment to providing indictment notification, follow-up calls to every victim to let them know what's happening with their criminal case. We assist victims with crime victims compensation, restitution, referrals to community-based programs and counseling, safety planning, and protective orders are some of the services that we provide in our office. We have 12 court advocates that are designated to every district court, and they dedicate their time to be able to assist the victims during the prosecution process. And all of this was made possible under the leadership of Mr. Ricardo Rodriguez Jr. and his continuous support in all our prevention efforts, in particular to domestic violence. So I would like to introduce your DA, Ricardo Rodriguez Jr.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you. Thank you, Rosie. And good morning to all of you. As you can see, we have some important people that are behind me here, and we're trying to follow as much as we can the social distancing and the wearing of the mask. You just heard from Rosie talk to you about what we've done here at the office, and I must tell you, before I began that it's been a team effort. as you know, everyone that works in our office, to every agency that's out there, that works in victim services, you know, with law enforcement. It's been a complete team effort, and we're going to continue working together as much as we can. Again, good morning, you know, to all of you, you know, to everyone that is here present, and everyone who is watching and listening. On behalf of the County of Hidalgo, and also the District Attorney's Office, I thank you for being with us today and listening and watching this important message that each one of us has for you as we kick off National Domestic Violence Awareness. As you can see, you know, we have not let this pandemic stop us from coming together and bringing forth this campaign in support of National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I can attest to you that our office, along with so many agencies that we've collaborated with and that we've partnered up with, has been and will continue to be available to offer victim services, representation, prevention, and awareness services. To the families who have lost a loved one because of domestic violence, on behalf of all of us, our deepest and sincere condolences. We will never forget your loved ones. To the survivors and victims who are watching and listening and who have joined this campaign and joining us, thank you. Thank you for being with us and coming together to deter and end domestic violence. We stand with you and we support you. In support of kicking off National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, today we are honored to have with us some great and important individuals from huge organizations that have done so much for victims, especially domestic violence victims. We will hear from Estela de Anda, Executive Director of Mujeres Unidas, who is here also with Cecilia Mata Moya. And I'll tell you, Estela and the Mujeres Unidas organization, they have navigated and have given shelter to so many victims and families through their difficult times. And I think it's been for almost 42 years, right, Estela? She didn't want me to mention how long she's been, you know, helping victims and being this great champion and helping individuals and families prosper with their lives. But, you know, credit is given where credit is deserved, and Estela has done so much for our community, not only here in Hidalgo County, but throughout the Rio Grande Valley in the state of Texas. So Estela, thank you for being with us here, and you'll hear from her in a little bit. Also, we have with us from Austin, and not only honored by her presence, but also excited to hear about the new initiative and resource that will be a huge game changer in how we continue providing protection to victims and potential victims of domestic violence, and that is Gloria Terry. Gloria, thank you for being here with us. Gloria drove down from Austin, and we were happy when we heard that she was going to be present with us. She is the executive director of the Texas Council of Family Violence, which Estela was also, I think, part of that when it was created. Again, I don't want to show the years, Estela, but again, you know, you must, you know, be given credit for that. But the Texas Council on Family Violence is a 501c3 nonprofit coalition in Texas dedicated solely to creating safer communities and freedom from family violence. With a statewide reach and direct local impact, TCFV shapes public policy, equips service providers with essential tools, and initiates strategic prevention efforts. Since 1978, TCFV has been a nationally recognized leader in efforts to end family violence. TCFV seeks to make systemic and legislative changes to programs and services that impact Texas domestic violence survivors and their families. TCFV advocates before the Congress, the Texas legislature, and relevant federal and state agencies to create access to safety, justice, and opportunities for all. You will also be hearing from Amy Cantu, our Chief Prosecutor of the Domestic Violence Unit, and you've just heard from Rosie Martinez as well, the Crime Victims Director from our office. They will share with you important safety and vital information as to victim services. Also present is Juan Villescas, the first assistant, who's back there, who's the first assistant here in our office, and also as to the big announcement that we've been waiting for, Along with Ms. Terry, we have with us Ms. Candice Lagrange, Chief Executive Officer of Justice Art Technology. During this pandemic, the use of technology has increased dramatically. Bless you. Not only in the daily process of the judicial system and how it works, but in our homes, in our schools, at our workplace. For months, this form of technology has allowed many of us, by using another form of communication and communicating with each other during this pandemic. Ms. Candice will discuss with you and introduce with you the use of technology that will provide another layer of protection for domestic violence victims. My friends, colleagues, and everyone in the state of Texas and in the county of Hidalgo, domestic violence is a pattern of behavior used by a person in a relationship to control the other. Domestic violence is prevalent. It is very prevalent within our communities, and it affects all people regardless of their age, their socioeconomic status, education, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, culture, or nationality. Domestic violence includes physical abuse, emotional and psychological abuse, economic abuse, threats, and even death. These acts of violence have destroyed many lives and families within our communities and homes. And also, children have been left with a lifetime of grief and trauma. This is why we're here today, and this is why we will continue to collaborate and partner up with all the different agencies out there, with the community, with law enforcement, because yes, much work has been done by so many of us, but we must continue to keep working to ensure victims find help and safety before it is too late. The District Attorney's Office has created a team with professional individuals, just like Rosie has mentioned, that have been providing the services and resources necessary to assist victims of domestic violence and their families. How have we done this, and how will we continue to do this? When we talk about services, when we talk about law enforcement, and when we talk about education, prevention, and awareness, these are three important components that we must continue to work on to be able to be more efficient and effective, not only in prosecuting our cases, but also in giving victim services. So we must continue to work together diligently to improve, again, the quality and accessibility of services so that everyone has a prompt access to services regardless of their location, race, age, or income. Law enforcement. We have collaborated with law enforcement agencies to have an effective apprehension and prosecution of domestic violence cases against the perpetrator. A victim of domestic violence must have confidence that when he or she files a police report, that it will receive justice and the perpetrator will be punished. Education, awareness, and prevention. We have and will continue to empower and educate our victims, communities, and citizens with education, prevention, and awareness to end abusive relationships and to break the cycle of domestic violence. We will continue to take an aggressive approach in making sure that the District Attorney's Office, along with every agency that's out there that works every day to end domestic violence and give services to victims of domestic violence, in helping not only victims of domestic violence, but all victims of crimes. Today, all of us are here, and we can agree that the time for complacency is gone. It's long gone. It has passed and belongs in another era. Domestic violence will continue to thrive if we stay silent. Together we must end the silence, and now is a time for stronger action. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not be silent no more. And to conclude, I leave this message to the victim, more importantly, but to the perpetrator, to the abuser, to the batterer, to the aggressive person. Stop ruining lives. Stop ruining families. Stop ruining children's lives. We must break this cycle. You need to stop. All of us here stand before you to stand up against domestic violence because we care. And we will continue So you can know, we will continue to stand together and pledge and raising awareness about domestic violence. We're not going to stop. We pledge also that we will provide the best services and continue to improve the quality and accessibility of services to victims. This support system that you see here today, those that are listening and watching, it has multiplied throughout the years. It has multiplied because our community cares, we care, our agencies care, and we want to end domestic violence. So we will keep improving the reporting of domestic violence to immediate policing responses, from sheltering, from counseling and providing social services to support victims and families, to legal services, to protective orders, and yes, for the swift justice of perpetrators like you who are causing the harm and the pain to our communities and to our families and to our friends. We will continue to be the shield. We will continue to be the protector, the voice of every person in our community, in our county, and in the state of Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard many times where a victim says, you don't really know how I feel because you have not lived it and you have not gone through it. And little by little, ladies and gentlemen, I have attested to you and I have discussed with you that I have been a victim of domestic violence. And it's hard to discuss, but I can tell you that I share the same sentiment as victims because I know what they're going through. I know what they lived through. And I'm not shameful about it. And I love that person today more than ever. More than ever. I'm proud of that person. And I shared with you this very personal information about my life because that person changed. That person changed. So again, it's a message about, I know what a victim is going through, but also more importantly, that the person can change for a better life, for a better living, for the betterment of their children. You can change. But again, please, we are here to stand by those victims and continue to give them the best service that we can. And again, I thank all of you for being here today with us and also watching and listening. God bless the County of Hidalgo. God bless the state of Texas. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Next, our guest speaker is Ms. Estela de Anda, Executive Director for Mujeres Unidas. And just like Mr. Rodriguez mentioned, Estela has been involved in the movement against domestic violence for over 40 years, and she has been instrumental in our communities to establish resources and programs to assist domestic violence victims. Mujeres Unidas is the only shelter for family violence victims in our county, and they are open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So we thank them for their commitment and dedication to always help out domestic violence victims. So, Estela.
Buenos días. First of all, I would like to start off by thanking our county judge, our county commissioners for the support they have given Mujeres Unidas throughout the years so that we can provide services for victims. Of course, we work closely with Mr. Rodriguez and his staff to assist victims that need protective orders. Mr. Rodriguez has always gone beyond the call of duty, having phone banks, reaching out to the community to let them know that this is a serious problem and that people need to seek help. I also want to thank our Sheriff's Department, our law enforcement agencies that work with us throughout the year. They respond to the calls quickly. When we call them, they respond. So thank you very much for all the law enforcement agencies that work with us. And there's a lot of them in our county. I also want to thank Gloria Terry, who is standing right behind me from the Texas Council on the Family Violence. Gloria has been instrumental in seeking funding through the legislature to help shelters across the state, not only Mujeres Unidas, but across the state. Gloria has always been at the forefront of innovation, has been at the forefront of bringing trainings and giving support for all the shelter advocates across the state. And we really appreciate that. Thank you, Gloria. Not only did she does all of that, but she also during this pandemic sought additional funding so that shelters could get items that were needed to protect them from the virus. And so we really appreciate that. Our advocates continue to work, providing shelter, providing all the support services. We do some groups on Zoom for our batters program, but for the most part, you know, we are still continuing to provide the services that we have always provided. I know that this has been a very challenging year for everybody. There's been a lot of deaths from the COVID. And so despite the grieving that goes with family members, losing family members and friends, this year, as every year, we also grieve and mourn for those victims that have died as a result of domestic violence. And so I'm excited to hear about this new innovation that is coming to help victims be safer. And so I'm very excited about that, but I'm sure that Candice and Juan will talk to us more about that. But this year we had in our county, we had 4 women that were killed, 1 male and 2 police officers responding to domestic violence. When I read the story about the latest victim, I became very disheartened. And I've been doing this work for many, many years. But this particular case, I was very disheartened that despite all the outreach and all the work that we do in the community, along with our partners that work with us, we were not able to reach this person. She was 37 years old. She was killed at the hands of her husband, leaving behind 2 children, 2 small children, and family members. So for a while I was disheartened and I said, you know, this is really, we need to do more. We need to be able to reach out more. And I thought about it and I said, you know, we sheltered more than 213 people in our shelter. And we provide services at our outreach centers for hundreds of people every year. So we are trying the best that we can to be able to reach out and use all the technology that's available, Facebook, Twitter, everything that we can do to do the outreach. But I think this innovation that they're going to talk about is going to be really, really a game changer and this for the safety of victims. So as I thought about it, I said, this is not the time to drop out. This is a time that we need to get together and address this serious problem in our community. We have the tools, we have the passion, we have the people in our county that can make a change. And so as we go in through the new year, we hope to see that this new invention, innovative technology will be there for victims and that it will be utilized and that all the police departments will come together to utilize it for the safety of victims. It's been a long, long journey that we've had with domestic violence. In the days when there were no legal protections for victims, that day is gone. As Mr. Rodriguez stated, those days are gone where we can be indifferent, that this is something that is nobody's business, but it is our business. We live in this community and we all want to live in a community that is safe for everyone. And of course, for those people should be safe in their own homes. So as we go into the new year, we hope that this innovation will make a positive change in our community, because I know that we're all ready for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stella.
Thank you, Estela. Next, we have our Domestic Violence Unit Chief, Assistant District Attorney Amy Mayonna Cantu. She oversees the domestic violence and also the protective order that are filed in our office. And she has a great team also with her that dedicates solely to assisting and helping victims of domestic violence, not just in the civil process, but also in the criminal process. So, Amy.
Thank you, Rosie. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining us today. As Rosie said, my name is Amy Mayonna Cantu, and I'm the Chief of the Domestic Violence Unit. Today, we wear purple, and we join women and men all across the country to support victims of violence and to send the message that domestic violence is not acceptable in our community. Citizens of Hidalgo County have lost their lives due to this, and we ask you to help us raise awareness that domestic violence is not acceptable. Domestic violence affects all of us, every family, every workplace, and every community. Domestic violence is devastating because it happens at home. It happens in our safe place. It is not just the victims that are affected, it is everyone involved who suffers. It affects the children who are found hiding in a corner. It affects our frontline police officers who respond to these calls every day. And it also affects the ambulance drivers and the medical personnel who tend to our victims' wounds. When Mr. Rodriguez was elected in 2015, he created a domestic violence unit. Our unit consists of prosecutors, legal assistants, victim advocates, and an investigator. Our focus in our unit is the prosecution of protective orders for victims of family violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking, and also the effective prosecution of criminal domestic violence cases. When the unit was created in 2015, we reviewed nearly 1,400 applications. And since then, we have reviewed about 1,400 applications. However, last year, that number went up. We reviewed close to over 1,600 applications. And this year, because of the pandemic, that number has grown a lot. As of today, we have nearly 1,200 applications, and this is only the beginning of October. So we still have 4 months left. Mr. Rodriguez has worked very hard to bridge the gap between our office and law enforcement so that we can all work towards the same common goal. And that goal is to end domestic violence in our county. We have collaborated with many agencies to assist our office with protective order applications. There are at least 10 agencies who are assisting the DA's office with protective order applications. And we did this because we want to help our victims who do not have the means to come into our office to go to the nearest agency so that they can apply for a protective order. I want to thank our prosecutors, our legal assistants, our victim advocates, and our investigators who help us prosecute these cases every day. I want to thank Estela and Cecilia for everything that they do to help our office. They're always a phone call away. We share our cell phones, and anything that we need, anything that they need, they always call us. I also want to thank the Texas Council on Family Violence Executive Director, Gloria for joining us today, as well as Justice Alert Technology Chief Executive Officer and founder of the app, Candice Lagrange, along with Juan Cano, for choosing Hidalgo County to launch the newly designed Victim-Initiated Notification Safety app. And they are going to talk about that in a bit. This app is another resource that will add a level of protection for our victims, along with our protective orders. Today, I encourage everyone to take action to help end domestic violence. If you see something, please say something. Call our office, call your police department. Together, we can change the lives of women, men, and children who live in fear every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amy. And thank you for all the personnel from the Domestic Violence Unit that work so hard every day with our civil and criminal cases. Next, we have the honor of having Ms. Gloria Terry, Executive Director of the Texas Council on Family Violence, with us today. And we want to thank her for always supporting our prevention efforts and finding ways that our office can enhance what we're already doing to assist victims of domestic violence. This particular pilot program is the first pilot program in the nation that will be launched today. And we are very excited that they looked into allowing this county to be the ones to launch this pilot program, because as all the rest of the speakers have said, this is going to be a game changer. So we value that they have chosen Hidalgo County and the District Attorney's Office to launch this pilot program, which will be the first in the nation.
Thank you, Rosie. I would be remiss if I didn't say a few things before I start my official comments. First, my condolences and prayers to the community for the impact that COVID has had amongst your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Secondly, I would be remiss if I didn't directly acknowledge the leadership of DA Rodriguez. You set the gold standard in so many areas. I just want to make sure that we say that out loud. And to Estela, I think if you look in the dictionary and you look up visionary, or you Google visionary, her picture and her name will come up. Can you imagine over 40 years ago, a group of women that came together and said, we need to be able to make sure that every domestic violence agency across the state is connected and that we can mobilize. Those are the shoulders that I stand on. So the visionary is what created the Texas Council that is today. So Estela, thank you for being that visionary. You know, I always think it's important to talk about the landscape of domestic violence in the state of Texas. What does it look like? What is it? Give me some parameters so I know what it is that we're dealing with. Well, in the last year, we know that over 200,000 calls were made to law enforcement because home was not safe. We also know in the last year, over 71,000, primarily women and children, sought services in domestic violence agencies like Mujeres Unidas because home was not safe. And now we also know that for 2019, 185 individuals lost their lives to domestic violence. They ranged in ages from 15 to 87. And so when you think about the 15-year-old, her biggest concern should be, what is my next TikTok video gonna be? And unfortunately, her life was ended tragically. And when you think about the 87-year-old, again, we think she should be enjoying her golden years and reflecting on all the riches that life has given to her. And unfortunately, her life was ended tragically. So all of this is before COVID. We know that the impact of COVID, if it parallels what Hurricane Harvey did, is going to cause an escalation in severity and frequency of violence in the home. Those stressors do not cause domestic violence, but when you think about health, economic, and all the other stressors that are layered on top of an unhealthy relationship, again, what we learned from Hurricane Harvey, that those stressors created an increase of violence and an increase in severity in the type of violence that was used. And it was disproportionately affecting women. So we need to brace ourselves for that reality, and we need to recognize that the fight is still real. The fight continues, and that we brace ourselves for that potential to have this significant increase. Every year when I reference the 185 Texans that lost their lives, every year the Texas Council on Family Violence publishes a report called Honoring Texas Victims. It is the only comprehensive analysis of fatalities of domestic violence victims in the state of Texas. We look at that data not just to count the number of people that were impacted, although that is significantly important, but we analyze the data to look for trends, to find out what it is that we can do differently, How do we change policy? How do we change practice? And how do we change training? So we know that we constantly have to be looking at other interventions and other strategies to really impact change. And those strategies need to be across a spectrum. So when I gave recognition to D.A. Rodriguez and certainly to Rosie, the prevention work has to be committed to and nonstop. That is I think there's a saying, when is the best time to plant a tree so I can benefit from the shade? 20 years ago, right? So with our prevention work that is being done here in Hidalgo County and the greater Hidalgo County, that Young Hearts Matter, you're planting those trees today so that in 20 years you can benefit from that shade. Additionally, we need to make sure that without taking one bit of resources from direct services, and I'm going to be bold and say to domestic violence organizations like Mujeres Unidas, we need to be able to identify resources that allow us to innovate and come up with strategies so that we can conquer this scourge in our society, this thing that tears at the very fabric of who we are as a society. And so last year, I was introduced to the app, and I was really intrigued with the thinking that went behind it. We're not easy to convince, right? You got to show us that this is going to protect victims in a way that allows them to have control of their safety. It's got to protect their information. It's got to be safe. So we probably put you to the test. And then I didn't act alone. There was a great team back at the office who had a whole slew of questions that said, if we're going to embark in something, we're going to examine it from every angle, and we're going to make sure that this has safety all over it for people who are already vulnerable. It also planted the seeds for us that innovation was at hand. So I wish it could have happened a little quicker, but an opportunity presented itself. The Office of the Governor, who administers the Violence Against Women Act funds that come to the state of Texas, will often seek information from the coalition, knowing that we have a vast network, to identify, are there projects, are there areas that of greater need, is there anything that we want to share with them that they can invest those resources in? And so we pitched the idea. We pitched the idea of this incredible project that you're about to hear from. So every year I stand in forums very similar to this, and I say the same numbers, the numbers of women and men who have died. I talk about the numbers of children who are left either as orphaned or as losing a parent. I give you the numbers of how many other people were impacted through these tragic acts. And I want to be able to have a different conversation, not just me as an individual, but as a movement, as a Texas Council, as a constellation of agencies like Mujeres Unidas. We want to be able to come say, we've shifted our work to helping develop healthy family dynamics rather than the cornerstone of our work, which has been basic human safety. So it was with these funds and with this opportunity that we were able to support a pilot project. And as Rosie alluded, I am not aware of any other project like this for sure in the state. And I doubt that there is anything that exists like this across the country. It gives us an opportunity to innovate, to look at different strategies and different mechanisms of protection. The graphic that you see with the state of Texas, we know that the majority of the fatalities happened in the most populous states, populous counties, but they also happen in small and mid-sized counties. And I wish I could tell you that Hidalgo County was immune to that. And you also just heard Estela's comments about the recent tragedies that have affected your communities. So we're ripe we're ready. We're ready for a different approach that increases safety and allows survivors to have control of that safety. So thank you for, I feel like I've received so much love and gratitude from the folks behind me that I'm like, I should move down here or something. But thank you for having me. On the contrary, it's a privilege for me to be here and support the community and to be able to work in partnership with the folks you're about to hear. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. And now we will hear from our guest speaker, Ms. Candice Lagrange, who is the Chief Executive Officer for Justice Alert Technology. And she will be talking more about this great innovative pilot program that we're launching today.
Thank you, Rosie. Good morning. I am Candice Lagrange Sigu. I am a nurse, a survivor of childhood domestic violence, and an advocate for victims of family violence. I would like to introduce my business partner, former investigator, Mr. Juan Cano. He was instrumental in the development and creation of our safety app, Victim Initiated Notification, also known as VIN. On behalf of our phenomenal team at Justice Alert Technology, we are honored to stand before you and introduce to you our innovative cutting-edge technology. We are truly blessed to have the opportunity to assist victims of domestic violence. We extend our most sincere thank you and gratitude to Hidalgo County Criminal District Attorney, Mr. Ricardo Rodriguez Jr., Victims Unit Director, Ms. Rosie Martinez, Executive Director for Texas Council on Family Violence, Ms. Gloria Terry, and Governor Greg Abbott and his staff for funding this initiative. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you to Mujeres Unidas for joining us today. Thank you to all the agencies, the community members of Hidalgo County, all who are present, and those who are watching virtually. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to stand before you all and unveil our revolutionary technology to this community. Last but not least, thank you to our families and our loved ones. Our software is designed to empower victims by increasing their safety and protective measures. With the use of technology, we're giving victims an extra resource to combat domestic violence from the palm of their hands. Rest assured, our VIN software was created with a victim-centered approach, and our priority is victim safety and safety for their loved ones. We're excited to join Hidalgo County District Attorney's Office and Texas Council on Family Violence in this new venture. It will be the first pilot program of its kind in our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Candice. Now, for the demonstration of the app, we have former investigator Juan Cano, and he's the co-founder of the Victim Initiated Notification Safety app. He will give you a demonstration overview of how this app is going to work. And
thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you VIN. We designed our VIN app for victims for easy access during a crucial time. It requires a tap of a button to activate an emergency alert. How to activate an alert? First, open the VIN app, then activate the perpetrator button by tapping on it. Instantly, a 30-second video and audio begins. After 30 seconds, evidentiary data and an alert is automatically sent to the law enforcement center where the victim is registered. This data is documented in real time by stamping the time, date, and GPS coordinates where the alert was activated. Let me demonstrate. I will now take this time to briefly demonstrate how easy it is to activate the alert. First, open the app. Simply tap the perpetrator button. At this time, the video and audio will begin recording, and you can wait the 30 seconds and it will be sent automatically, or you can press manually to send it immediately.
Alert! Alert! Please refer to the Justice Alert panel for more details.
Your law enforcement agency has been alerted. To learn more about our app, visit us at www.safevictim.com. Thank you.
Thank you. It is important to note that this is a pilot program that we're going to launch in collaboration with our law enforcement agencies, and there's going to be a series of phases before we actually start using it with victims. We want to make sure that whatever software, whatever initiative we're working with is going to serve victims, and it's going to be a victim-centered approach like everything else that has been implemented with DA Ricardo Rodriguez Jr. So for more information on this program, we will have follow-up interviews, media interviews, or any type of request. Please contact our office so that we can schedule any type of interviews. We're going to hear from our DA, Ricardo Rodriguez, for our closing remarks. And again, on behalf of our office, thank you for everyone that is with us today.
Thank you, Rosie. Again, we want to thank everyone who's here with us and also who's watching and listening. And like Estela mentioned, all that we have created here at the District Attorney's Office as to victim services and also as to our prosecutors and just as to the District Attorney's Office in general, we could not have done any of this without the true support of our Hidalgo County Judge and also our Hidalgo County Commissioners. They have been very instrumental, again, when it comes to financing and also resources. So we want to thank them again for everything that they've done. And I know that they also stand against domestic violence. I want to thank, again, the governor's office, Governor Abbott, for not only, believing in this new technology that has been introduced to you today with this app, but also in helping us and funding our victim advocates and our victims unit for almost 6 years now. So we're very, very thankful to the governor's office and Governor Abbott as well. Like Gloria mentioned, as to the tree, that one plants and as you plant it, it grows and it gives that shade. Well, again, we have individuals with us today that, for example, Stella, who planted that tree a long time ago. And all we're doing is making sure that we nurture that tree, that we feed that tree so it can grow. And why do we want it to grow? We want that shade. We want that shade to be as big as it can and that it can reach across the whole county in the state of Texas to where that shade can continue to give, everyone in our communities that protection, that safety, that services that we need so much in our community and here in Hidalgo County. So we will keep doing that. We will keep coming together and working together. We're excited about this new app. I'm excited to sit down and talk to our law enforcement agencies that we have, 20 plus municipal agencies in the county. We have the Sheriff's Office, we have DPS, and other federal agencies that we work very well with. I'm excited to sit down with them and show them this app that again gives another layer of protection to victims and potential victims that are out there. Because again, we are all working to end domestic violence. We are all working to end those abusive relationships that exist in our homes and that exist in our communities. So thank you again for joining us. Again, thank you to all of you that are here today. Thank you for everything that you've done in your respective agencies. Gloria, we'll continue working with you, and it feels very good when we have a state partner working not only with Hidalgo County, but through, with everyone throughout the whole state of Texas. And Estela, what can I say about Estela? Again, every time that we need something, we need guidance, we look, to Estela because again, she holds a lot of information and holds, very, very much wisdom in the sense of making sure that we continue in providing the best services we can for our victims. To everyone in our office, our prosecutors, our admins, our advocates, that's a huge team that consists of over 200 people that every day they strive, again, to do the best that they can and bring justice to everyone. So thank you again. God bless you all. Thank you.